Hello. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to HD Friday. I am Robinson-Tiedemann, aka CHRY. As you're coming in, please say hi. Let me know that you can hear me and you can see me. I have my familiar with me today. And we are in my happy place. Welcome to my happy place. So on HD Friday today, we are going to be talking about the unconscious versus the conscious. I just have you on my phone here so that I can make sure that this is all working. Okay, I see I'm live. Awesome. Okay, great. And you can hear me. This is amazing. So, welcome. All right. So, what we're talking about today, grab your charts. If you have your chart in front of you, that is amazing. So then you can look and see what I'm talking about. But our topic for today is all about like foundational stuff for the human design system. And I should probably tell you, I'm CHRY, life coach, and certified human design analyst. It is really fun for me to go through the different aspects of the human design system that have intrigued me and changed my life. I also have a membership called the Collective Perspective. And inside of the membership, we dive deep into different portions of our human design experimentation. We share, we contemplate different topics that really help us to bring awareness to ourselves. And so at the root of that is this conversation of unconscious versus conscious, because so much of who we are is unknown to us. So HD Friday is something that I started inside of the membership, and I decided, why don't I do it here live so that this conversation can go and open up to a lot more people. But inside of the membership, we have like an unlimited conversation running at all times. As you guys come in, as you're listening, you're welcome to ask questions in the chat, and depending on how much time we'll have, I'll take questions at the end. But we're gonna dive into something that will really help you to bring your chart more to life and let you actually walk with it in a lot more integration so that it can make a difference in your life. So, unconscious versus conscious. In your human design chart, there is a lot that represents things about yourself that you're not aware of. So basically, we think we're what we think. That's how this works. And how that's represented in your chart is you're going to see on one side a bunch of black numbers. On the other side, you're going to see a bunch of red numbers. The black side, everything that's black, that corresponds to all the black lines inside of your chart. Everything that's black, you're aware of that aspect of yourself. You know that about yourself. Everywhere there's red, that represents the unconscious. That represents aspects of yourself that they are you, but you're just not necessarily aware of them. Okay? So the black side, it's called your personality because it's who we think that we are. But let's think about how your heart beats, how your lungs move, how you operate your limbs. These are all aspects of ourselves that we are not conscious of, that are running in the background constantly, that are major aspects of us being alive. We're not aware of it, but it is part of who we are. It is part of what makes us possible. That is all unconscious. That is all included in that red stuff. In addition to, so not just all of the physical functioning, that is the body, that is going on at all times without our conscious awareness. There's other aspects even of ourselves beyond our physical functioning that we're also not aware of. Oh my gosh, a cat just came into the backyard. Hi. Oh my God, I'm taking that as a beautiful sign. Hi, kitty. So if you think about this, the parts of ourselves that we are aware of, that we think is so much of us, is really dominant. And we tend to rely on that for making decisions in our lives, for really running our lives. But the truth is that there's so much more to us. Just like the way that your heart beats without you having to do anything, and your lungs function without you having to do anything, there are other aspects of ourselves, for our body, an intelligence in our body that is sending us information all the time that we ignore or bypass. For example, intuition. So we can say, like, we have terms like, I have a sixth sense or sixth sense, and some people think it's really, really silly, and some people take it really, really seriously. But truthfully, it's simply biological. There's information that this tuning system, this apparatus that we're in, is aware of and receiving. And just because we can't always translate it into conscious awareness, we discredit it. What human design teaches us is to listen to this very reliable wisdom that is within the body that we have been ignoring. What it shows us is a very reliable way of knowing what's a right decision for ourselves, of following our own ultimate path to alignment through the wisdom of the body. So another way that you can actually look at your human design chart is all of the black stuff is the mind, which we think is who we are, but is actually just a small portion. And all of the stuff on the red side is really the body. Everything together is all of our consciousness. Everything that's working in the background, plus everything that we're aware of, that is all of our consciousness. And I remember from Psychology 101 in undergrad, there was a diagram that we were shown. I think this is Freudian, of an iceberg. A lot of people know this, even if you haven't studied psychology, the iceberg diagram. And what it shows is a body of water, and you see like a small peak sticking out of the water. And this is how a lot of ships back in the day, including the Titanic, crashed, because all it saw was a little tip, not realizing there is a massive size boulder underneath the water that is going to destroy that ship. So in that diagram, it was demonstrated that that entire iceberg is our consciousness. The tip that is above the water, that is the conscious aspect of our consciousness. And everything that is below the water represents the subconscious and the unconscious. What is above the water is 5%. So basically, what we walk around thinking that we think that we know that we are is 5% of our consciousness. 5% of all that is us is what we rely upon, and often wonder why, I don't know what I'm doing, where am I going, why can't I figure this thing out? And there is 95% underneath the water that often goes underutilized, underappreciated, ignored. And so human design is giving us access to our full consciousness. And it breaks it down super simply. You get a strategy, which is the way that you walk in life, and it's per type. So I'm a projector. My strategy is to wait for the invitation. I have a penetrating aura that allows me to see into other people. I know things that other people don't know. All projectors out there that are listening, we know things that other people don't know. It's true. We have this ability to guide other people. The strategy for us is to allow those people to invite us in to share our wisdom, because when we just give it to them without invitation, it goes unheard. It's very intrusive, and it doesn't work out for us, and we get really, really bitter. And that's our not self theme. And we have an authority, which is the way that you are meant to make decisions. When you pull up your body graph, you will be told your strategy. You will be told your authority. My authority. There's 8 different authorities. My authority is splenic. A splenic authority is an intuitive authority. The way that I am meant to make decisions in life is to listen to my intuition. If I refused to believe that there was more than just my conscious mind, I would never know how to make decisions for myself. And I can tell you that the first part of my life, especially the first 30 years of my life, that's how it freaking felt. It very much felt like, why can't I do anything right? It was like extremely frustrating. And when I started to learn to listen to these knowings that my body just gives me, everything started to change. And so those two major aspects are your major points. The first major step when it comes to your body graph in terms of learning how to utilize all of your consciousness. Okay? Ask any questions, put them in the chat. Let me know that you're here and let me know that it's resonating, okay? So let's break down all the aspects of where unconsciousness and consciousness shows up in our chart, okay? So again, everything that's black, that's what you're aware of. That's what you know. So if I tell you a part of your chart that's in black, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's me. Like, yeah, that's who I am. And then often the parts of our chart that are in red, if I told you that you were like that, you're like, am I really? I don't think so. That doesn't resonate. That doesn't sound so true. But I bet if I ask somebody in your life if you're like that, they're like, oh yeah, no, that's totally who they are. That's how that goes. And the truth is, this isn't about bringing every single aspect of ourselves that is in the unconscious into the conscious. This is not about we're going to become aware of everything. That's not possible. But it's important for you to know that you never really fully know, because what you know you can rely on is your strategy and authority. It allows us to not fool ourselves into thinking that we're just our personality. That really is the key. In human design, it gives us this metaphor or analogy that the vehicle that we're in is our body, and the personality, and that's our design, and the personality is the passenger. It's meant to just be along for the ride in this self-driving car. And a lot of times what we do is we have our personality treating the body like a slave. And so we're going to reverse that and be able to access all of the wisdom that's within us. So everywhere that you see black, you know that's you. Everywhere that you see red, it's not necessarily aware to you. And the interesting thing, so last week on HD Friday, we talked about the ego center. And I never told you about the actual gates inside of the ego center. So I'll use the ego center as an example, okay? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, I have my chart over here, gates inside of the ego center. And so let's say that you have your ego defined, meaning that triangle cutesy thing over on the right side of the chart is colored in for you. But the lines that you have coming out of it are red. So it's like unconscious. So let's say you have gate 21. That's the line that's coming out from 21. And it's red. That's the gate of control. Everything about the ego center is about willpower. So this is the willpower to control circumstances. If you have it unconscious, this is a person who is controlling, whether on the shadow end or on, the highest frequency end. This is the person who, like, when you see the gate of control in action in high frequency, like, these are people that you rely upon. This is management at its best. You know what I mean? Like, this is the ultimate manager. You have that in red. Like, you don't know that you're an excellent manager, but you might find yourself constantly being asked to be in these management positions. People see you in that way. And so over time, you might start to clue in that maybe there's something to this. But the recognition came from outside of you. It came from other people telling you. It came from your life. And in human design, we are adults at the age of 40. So anybody that's over the age of 40, you're more likely to start to have had an awareness of your unconscious parts than when you were younger. But you're thinking 20s, we're like, no clue. Like, no clue whatsoever, you know? So it doesn't mean that this person doesn't have the characteristics, but you just have no idea. You're not aware of it. And so it's reflected to you by other people. If you have gate 40, the gate of deliverance, this is the willpower to provide. These are our great providers. There's somebody in my human design certification alumni group. We have this WhatsApp chat that we're all in together. She was talking about her kids. She has 3 kids and they all have defined egos and, in different conscious, unconscious. And she talks about her 5-year-old who always wants to take care of everybody and provide and already talks about making money. But if it's unconscious, like the kid doesn't know that they care about those things. They just do it. It just happens naturally. Is this making sense? So what did I do? Gate 21, gate 40, gate 51, the gate of shock. I see this a lot. The gate of shock. This is the willpower to be the first at something. This is very much like the theme of competition. And for people with the gate of shock, they oftentimes will share information with other people. And let's say you have that unconscious and they have this like way that it's like, bam, like they kind of like, it is a mutative force. So it's a force that comes in and ignites something new through shock. That's it. That's what it's like meant to do. But when it's unconscious, these are people that don't necessarily have any idea that they're doing that. But the response that they get from others around them is like, whoa, it's kind of like jarring, or it can be quite abrupt. And where it's helpful for us to start learning what is unconscious to us and what is conscious to us is maybe that person with the gate of shock unconsciously, they might, because of other people's reactions, see that as like a bad thing about themselves, or see it as like people are afraid of me, or people are wary of me. When really it's just this aspect of you that is so natural and innate to you that you have no idea that you're doing it. You're not aware of the impact that it's having on those around you. And so bringing it into conscious awareness allows you to not only accept that about yourself, but to be a little bit more conscious about the effect that you're having, the impact that you're having in those that you have relationships with. Gate 26, the gate of the egoist. This is the willpower to be the best, right? These are people, listen, if we didn't have this kind of energy, we wouldn't have professional athletes. Sports wouldn't be like one of the highest grossing things on this planet. Like, you can't have a pro athlete and an Olympic swimmer who doesn't feel like that pull, to beat the best time, to be the best swimmer, to be the best whatever it is. But the thing is, you definitely know those people who are like that and they have no idea they're doing it. It's like, can't you just like do it chill? Like, why do you have to like push so hard? Can't you just like do it okay? Like, we all know those students who are like, I just need to pass. And then there are students who are like, I need to have the top grade. Some people are aware of it, and some people, they have that energy in them, but they have no idea that they're doing it. It's only like out of reflection from the other that it starts to become aware to them, where it's helpful to recognize that there is unconscious aspects of your design, is so that you can have some sort of control, dare I say, about the story that you tell about that. Because let's say you're that kid that always, has a drive to have the best grades, and the other kids in class are jealous of you or something, and they're just like, why do you always have to be the best? You're such a know-it-all. You're teacher's pet, blah, blah, blah. And then you start to feel bad about yourself, because why am I like this? What am I like that? No, I don't feel that. And it creates this like internal confusion. But the truth is, that is a very powerful aspect of you. And we need that energy in the world, or we wouldn't have statements like 4-minute mile. You know how it's common for people to say, that person is my 4-minute mile. You know, my coaches are my 4-minute mile. It's that energy that those gate 26s in the world have given the rest of us. They've set a standard for the rest of us. So there's all of these aspects of ourselves are beautiful, but depending on the story that we tell, it can be taken negatively or it can be taken positively. It can be a strength or we can see it as a weakness. We can be insensitive to the way that we are with other people, or we can be sensitive to the way that we are with other people, right? So all of these aspects of our chart, whether it's in red or whether it's in black, it's part of who you are, but it's also not necessarily a part of yourself that you are aware of. When it comes to entire centers of ourselves. So for example, my husband is a defined emotional center, but he only has, what does Ra have? He only has gate, oh no, he has two. So he has gate 37 defined and gate 6 defined inside of his chart. He has the 40-37 channel, but it's unconscious. When I met my husband, he was very sure he was not emotional. If you asked him, like, are you an emotional person? I don't know. Emotional? No, I'm very even keel. I'm not emotional at all. Anyone who, whenever you meet an emotional person, meaning they have their solar plexus defined in their human design chart, and they're like, I'm not emotional. Rah! Like, it's because it's unconscious in them. They do not know that they are, but you do. Their family does. The people in their life do. But it's not something that they're privy to. It's just happening, you know? And so now that we've been together for almost 5 years, he knows he's emotional. I have watched him, especially in the last 6 months, I would say. I've watched him actually recognize it in the moment. Like, he's turned to me. This happened last week watching a TV show. He was getting like real hype. He turned to me and he's like, I'm getting emotional, right? He's starting to pick up on what his waves feel like, but that takes time. So not only do we have to learn aspects of our chart, period, even the parts that we're like conscious of, like you might be an emotional person. So you might have your emotion center defined. And you know you're an emotional person, but you might just think, I'm moody. You don't really have an understanding of like the nuances of it. What triggers most of my waves? You know, what is the flavor of most of my waves? Because not all waves are the same. Some spike high and drop low. You know, some are incremental climbers, like they're different. This is why experimentation is so important. So important. You really have to experiment with your design because that's how you get to know yourself. And then there's the added layer of there are aspects of yourself also that like you don't even realize are there. I hope that this is all resonating, and please feel free, drop in the chat any questions that you have, or if anything hits the nail on the head, or if it doesn't, or if it sounds confusing. So anywhere that we have a center and it is only defined by unconscious channels, I'm telling you now, you don't know that you're that. And our work is to start to understand what that energy is and how that energy shows up in ourselves. Super interestingly for me, most of what is conscious in my chart, meaning black, are in undefined centers. So here's another added layer. Let's break down really simply. When you look at your human design body graph, wherever you see a center colored in, that is who you are consistently. day, night, alone, with others. That's who you are. So that's why we call it who you are, is because you can rely upon that energy being inside of you. Anywhere inside of your chart that is not colored in, but you can see little lines, whether they're black or red. That is who you are inconsistently. Those are inconsistent, consistent aspects of yourself. So, for example, I have an open head center. Most of us do have open head centers. I have gate 63 and gate 61 defined in my head center. In fact, gate 61 is my conscious sun. It is the most important gate in my entire human design system. That gate represents 70% of my personality. And it also represents basically like the reason I'm incarnated. It's in an undefined center. I know that aspect of myself, kind of. So what my personal experience, and I would love to hear anybody else's personal experience of this, is not only does it involve confusion because it's in the head center, and that is one of the shadow aspects of those gates. It was very confusing to me that this part of myself felt inconsistent. So my gate 61 loves to philosophize, and I mean, I started the collective perspective. Truly, my gate 61 started my membership. I love to go deep and have conversations like this. I want to talk about why are we here? Why this planet? How does it work? How, like, just the isness of life fascinates me. And I love to talk about it and like get weird and nerdy and obsessive about it. And I have these like, truly, I can say it, I have these phenomenal ideas. And sometimes it's like static upstairs. Sometimes I feel like my head is literally a cloud. It's like fog. I'll have a thought and then I like lose it. Like it goes away and it's like I can't hold it. But this energy is inconsistent to me because whenever you have a center open, undefined, that part of yourself is accessible in the presence of a defined center. So I think one of the reasons that I probably chose my husband is because together we define my head. My husband like completes my chart. The split that I have, it's completed with my husband. Like I feel like I have more access to who I am in his presence. This is true. So I like to actually, when I was doing my human design certification, a couple of times I asked him to be in the room. I like studying around him. So this is an aspect of myself that is consistent and conscious. It's black, but only when I am in the presence of something that defines my head. So even though it's not an unconscious aspect of myself, it's kind of inaccessible. So it's another kind of flavor of unconsciousness. So there are parts of ourselves that are who we are and that we are aware of-ish, but we might realize it feels like that energy is not always accessible to us. I have the channel of contribution. I have gate 8 and gate 1 defined, connecting my throat to my G center, my love and identity center. If you can tell, I speak quite passionately. I actually usually, like when I get really, really heated, I start yelling. There's so many times when I look back on my videos, I'm like, why the fuck are you yelling at everyone? I just get heated. I get passionate. I like talking about this stuff. I have this, that is the flavor of an essence of this channel. But my gate 8 is conscious, and the 1 is unconscious. The 8 is the part where I have things to contribute. I have things to say. I have something to contribute. I do. I know that, even though I don't always feel like I can say it. I'm aware that I have that. And that's a matter of me following my strategy and my authority. The 1, this is the most unique gate inside of the human design system entirely. And I kind of knew I was unique and also really freaking didn't. It has taken me a really long time to fully accept my weirdness and my uniqueness, even though I've always kind of known it was true. In fact, I struggled a lot with wanting to fit in. And at times, even though I'm so driven by like the things that I love and that I like, when I was younger, there was a lot of periods of me like really trying to conform to be like everybody else, to look like everyone else. I remember when I stopped perming my hair, like straightening my hair. Holy crap, that changed my freaking life. I remember looking in the mirror and saying, wow, I see me for the first time. It felt like I saw myself for the first time. I straightened my hair like up until maybe 19, 20. Why? Because it's what my mom did and it's what I was told was looks presentable, or it's the only way that you can look pretty. I started really owning one of the ways that I really do express myself uniquely is how I look, is how I dress, how I do my hair, my jewelry. I shave my head and stuff like, but it took me some time to give myself permission to be that. But I was always that. I was always that. And interestingly enough, I can go back to high school and people that I know now from high school who are like, I always looked up to you. You were always so unique. You were always so yourself. And I'm like, was I? I don't freaking remember that. Like, was I? I feel like I struggled so much with like not being myself, but still people like even even trying to fit in, I couldn't quite freaking do it. So people still saw that aspect in me. That's how our unconscious shows up. And I am very deeply committed right now to letting my freak flag fly. Like, that is my personal work. But the truth is, it will always feel a little bit like not fully aware, like a little bit of a smoke screen. You know what I mean? But it's almost like this muscle. The more I grease it, the more I work it, the more I use it, the better I feel. So I know the thing that I can trust, and this is for all of us, the thing that you can trust in this journey, in this experimentation, is your signature or your true self theme. Mine is success. Another word that helps, that some projectors kind of resonate with better, is appreciation. But the more that I show up as myself, how I look, the way I've done my jewelry, the way I do my nails, the way I do my hair, the way that I dress, like the more I be me, the more successful I feel, the more appreciative I feel. And so even if that consciousness isn't fully there, I know I feel good. So let your signature, let your true self theme be your guide along this process of really bringing some of that unconscious into the conscious. Okay, any questions? Nobody's asking questions. What is going on? Truly, don't feel shy, okay? So the last aspect, and pretty cool aspect, that I want to bring up about conscious versus unconscious is your profile line. This is another big aspect of consciousness and unconsciousness in your chart that you are experiencing at all times. And that actually, as an aspect that I bring up in readings and when I'm working with clients, this changes shit for people. Like, this really is a game changer for people starting to understand their unconscious aspect of their profile line. That's a big part. So your profile, that is the 2 numbers. It looks like a fraction. Okay. And if you want to find it organically, if you look at your human design body graph, on the black side, the top number, whatever is after the point, that's the first number in your profile. So for me at the top is 61.4. My first number in my profile is 4. If you go over to the left side, the red side, you go to that top number, whatever that point is, that's your second number of your profile. So my top number on my left side, on the red side, on the unconscious side, is 32.6. So the second half of my profile is a 6. I am a 4-6 profile. Your profile is kind of like the outfit that you wear. It is the suit. It is the flavor of the overarching flavor of everything that is you. And it has a pretty major influence in the way that you show up in this world and the way that other people relate to you. I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me. Okay, it is. So the first number inside of your profile, so the 4 for me, that's my conscious. I'm aware that I am a 4th line. The second number is a 6. That is unconscious. I was not aware that I was a 6th line. And so each of these lines has a different energy. The 1 line is a foundational line. These are our researchers. These are people, they're a foundation for everyone. These are people who like information. They ask a lot of questions. They like to learn, and they want to learn more, and they want to learn more, and they want to learn more. When they're interested, they're learning, and they have research, and they have foundation. These are not people that like to, though they can. I've seen them be phenomenal at it, but these are not people who like to necessarily just like spontaneously present something. They want to do their research and get ready and then come and present it. This is the flavor of a 1 line. A 2 line. A 2 line is our natural. These are people that are multi-talented and very good at things, even though they have no idea that they are. They are people that are just, the person who just sketches like this phenomenal, perfect piece of artwork. And you're like, holy crap, that's amazing. And they're like, oh, really? I was just doodling. What do you mean you're doodling? That's like the best drawing I've ever seen in my life. Really? They're just naturally good at things. And then the world calls them out for their gifts. This is a 2 line. They're the natural. They're just natural. Then there's the 3 line. The 3 line is the martyr. This is the person who learns through trial and error. These are our adventurers. These people are naturally a little bit braver. They're a little bouncier than the rest of us too, because it involves a lot of falling down and learning from mistakes. They trial and they error. This is why they're called the martyr. Our 4th line are our networkers. These are people that are naturally friendly. I'm a 4th line. Network. They're all about community. They're all about friendship. They build their lives and manifest through people, through relationship. That's our 4th line. Our 5th lines, this is the opposite projection of the 2 line. Our 5th line are our fixers. These are problem solvers. These are the people that you turn to who just have the solution to things. And often we kind of idolize the way that we see them. People can project upon them kind of perfection, this kind of godlike image, or the exact opposite, project upon them that they're terrible. So this is happening, and people have a very hard time seeing a 5 line for who they are. And that can be used to their benefit as well, because when the 5 line really speaks, they have quite an influence. They have the power to truly influence. They are here to teach and the masses and to improve. And the 6th line is the role model. These are people who, through their lived experience, because for the 6th line, it's a very specific 3 stages of life. The first stage, from 0 to 30, this person operates as a 3 line. And so they're trial and erroring, they're learning, they're falling on their face, they're getting the lesson, they're getting back up. And in the later aspect of their life, they are role modeling everything that they learned. This is just a brief overview of the profile lines. How this shows up in your life is that you are very aware of half of your profile. You're very aware. I was very aware that I love my friends and that relationships are the most important thing to me ever, and that I really easily draw people towards me. And I've always known, for example, like if it comes to getting a job, I'd rather go in person than necessarily like just hand in a resume, because I'm like, if I go in person, they'll hire me. Like, these are things that I've known. I didn't know anything about human design, but I've always known that about myself. Did I have any idea that I was a role model? Absolutely not. I had no idea. Actually, I thought I was a massive fuck up, because as a 3 line for the first portion of my life, I pretty much was bumping into life all the time. I felt like I was constantly making mistakes. I felt like I was constantly blowing things up. So I'm like, what? That never would have occurred to me. When I look back, when I started becoming aware, when I started inner work, personal growth, it started to clue in. My entire life, people have looked up to me. I didn't understand why. And sometimes I'm like, are you actually insane? Like, what are you talking about? But I always had people look up to me. I have people that I know from high school now who are like, I've always looked up to you. And to me, I'm like, I was the biggest mess. But that is not what other people's experience of me was, though it was my internal experience. Why? My 6th line is unconscious. I have no clue. So how you tend to experience the second number in your profile is usually the negative aspects. That's usually how people actually experience the own qualities of their profile, until we start to kind of purposefully bring things into our awareness, when we start to observe the way that others observe us, when we start to see the greater pattern in our life, when we start to give it a different story. Because the story that I had was I was an entire mess up. I genuinely only started to truly recognize the role model in me like 2 years ago. But I've always had this drive to be an example in a certain way. Like, it's not about someone else looking up to me. It's more like, when I've learned something, I want to freaking share it, because it was a tough lesson. It was like, wait, let me tell you how I did that or what happened, because like, don't do what I did. Like, it was very much from this energy. Like, when I learned something, I naturally like want to share it or let other people know. But my role modeling isn't coming from my mouth. It's actually just happening. It's a part of my being. So I've been role modeling a long time. A long time. And stepping into really owning this aspect of myself is when I really truly started to become the most integral, like really having integrity in the way that I show up behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, like the person that I am, in knowing that even though I'm not aware of it, people are looking up to me. This is like owning the unconsciousness of my profile. So I'm not going to go through all of the profiles, but for some of my favorites in terms of like a cosmic joke is, for example, the 1-3. I have so many 1-3s in my life. I love you guys. I love you guys. And I got to say, it's hilarious. Like the universe that was a good joke. So the one line, the foundation line, this is your studier. This is your like, I need more information. This is your bookworm. This is your like, they're not always bookworms. I'm simplifying here. But these are people that like, they do their research. They need to like know things. They need a solid foundation. And then on the unconscious side, they're the martyr. They're the trial and error. They're the fall on your face, learn the lesson, get back up. So how this 1-3 experiences their life is like, I'm doing everything to prepare myself for everything to be fully prepared. And then it's like, boom, life smacks them in the face. I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? I did everything that I could to prepare myself. And how did I still get smacked in the face? Because there is an unconscious 3 line there. No matter what you prepare for, no matter how much you research, the way that a 1-3 is truly going to solidify their knowing in this life is through experimentation, is through living it. So once my 1-3s become aware of what they're not aware of about themselves, they stop telling themselves that story that they're massive mess ups or that the universe is seriously out to get them. Because just think about that. You do everything that you can to prepare for something and it still blows up in your face. It's like, seriously? What do I have to do? Like, it feels unfair, but it's actually perfect. It's perfectly correct for their design because they're the ultimate of like, really think of really preparing for something and then also really testing it out and combining that energy together. That's your 1-3. So if a 1-3 is teaching you something and they've already been through the lesson, listen to that. Like, trust me, that person knows what the heck they're talking about. That's the energy of bringing this conscious awareness and that unconscious aspect together. But until we know it, it can feel kind of messed up, Another cosmic joke is the 2-4. The 2-4 is the hermit. I didn't mention that when I said the 2 line in the beginning. They're the natural, but they're also the hermit. So yes, they're naturally good at many, many things, and they like to go into their little cave and do their thing. So that same drawing example, drawing amazing, this is the person who's in their house painting away, making beautiful art, and just putting it up on their wall, thinking like, that was fun. Someone comes into their house and they're like, oh my God, what artist did that? That's amazing. Oh, I did it. You painted that? Yeah. Do you sell them? No. You should. Really? This is our 2 line. So this 2 line is in their own world doing their own thing. That's what they're conscious of. They know they like to be alone and do their own thing. They know they like to like dive deep into their hobbies and such. And then on the back end, they're the networker. They're the people person. But on the front side, on the side that they're aware of, they're like, I'm a loner. I like to be by myself. That's my favorite thing to do. Be alone. You know that meme with the little girl and the parents are like, what was your favorite part of the party that we went to today? And the little kid's like, leaving. That's your 2 line. Like, they are aware that they like to be by themselves and do their thing, but they're actually people. And a 2-4 is not going to feel fulfilled. They are, whatever your signature is for your type, you're not going to feel satisfied. You're not going to feel successful. You're not going to feel appreciative. You're not going to feel at peace. You're not going to feel a sense of surprise unless you have a network. And so the struggle for some 2 lines, until they start bringing this stuff into their awareness, is if they're really truly believing that all they are is a person who likes to be by themselves and kind of isolate themselves, And then they kind of wonder why they feel lonely. But they actually do need people. And these are people that are very magnetic to others. A 2-4, yeah, they're the person that comes to the party late and leaves early. But if you ask everyone else at the party, they were like, where's so-and-so? Where's so-and-so? Like, you're missed. You're missed. It's natural. The 4 line is naturally attractive to other people. So there's this cosmic joke with our profiles, with the conscious part in the front and the unconscious part on the back end. Our work is to bring as much into our awareness as we can so that we can walk in our signature, so that we can be experiencing our full satisfaction, our full success, so that we can show up in the way that we're meant to contribute in the world, so that we can be in our highest alignment. And so when I started, this is why when I started doing inner work, when I started looking into human design and really diving in, my life really changed. The way that I showed up for people really changed. The way that I was able to show up in relationships, like the way that I'm able to, like with my husband, oh my gosh, like this has been so helpful. I'm by no means a perfect wife. Far freaking from it. But this has been super helpful for understanding certain aspects of myself that I just am without knowing it. Like I have the channel of struggle. Like I am kind of a bitch, you know what I mean? In like, I think it's a little bit cute. And so does he. But also, like I'm sassy. I am a sassy pants. And when it comes to like a fight, it's natural for me to like I'm ready to jump in, you know, like my human design teacher says, like someone with a channel of struggle, like you will never win that argument, you know. This is an aspect of myself. It's unconscious though. It's unconscious. I didn't know I was like that. All I know is that I'm winning right now. And it's like, who cares about winning in your relationship? That doesn't build a strong relationship. When I saw that in my chart, I was like, ooh, I see why I see how he might feel about that, you know? I'm not saying that aspect of myself is going away. It's not just going to go away. Actually, it's also the part of my chart. We'll do planets another day, but the planetary aspects, they have like, they add an extra flavor to what that genetic aspect is inside of you. That's my most immature part of my design. And it kind of represents that it will most likely ish be that struggle for always. So that's a tough one. But having an awareness of it, huge, huge. I'm way better at apologizing. I'm way better, even if I'm like fire in the moment, I'm way better at coming down after and coming back and being like, whoopsies. You know, it has allowed a certain amount of softening because it really wasn't in my awareness. That's the truth. I really genuinely didn't know. I genuinely didn't know. You don't need human design to know these things. Truly conscious practice will teach us this. In my collective perspective membership, like this is the core of what we're doing, contemplation. The reason we contemplate is because that reflection and observation of ourselves, that will bring who you are out to you. We will find our patterns through conscious reflection. We will find our patterns through questioning. Like this is the power of a journal practice. It's not just release. Like it is important to observe ourselves. So it doesn't have to be through human design, but however we choose to do it, it is really important to understand that we are more than we think that we are. We're more than we think that we are. And a little bit of just curiosity, a little bit of openness. This is why like compassion, understanding, forgiveness, like these qualities are beautiful gifts inside of us for our relationships, because there's always a little bit of something you might not know, you know? That's conscious versus unconscious. If anybody has any questions, you're welcome to pop them into the chat right now, and I'll take a couple of questions if you have them. I hope that made sense. I hope that gave you a little bit of sense of understanding of yourself. I also hope that you can give yourself a little bit of a break, because this is everyone. You're not alone. Like, we all don't know aspects of ourselves, but give yourself a break, but also give people, it also helps to give other people a little bit of a break. You know, once I saw that my husband was unconscious of his emotions, that really helped me to have a lot more compassion. It really, truly did, because I'm just like, wow, he genuinely has no idea. Like, he doesn't know what it looks and feels like, you know? So I hope that this gives you a little bit of curiosity and kindness and gentleness with your approach for yourself. But I highly recommend, like, diving into your chart, looking at the different parts. It will blow your mind. And if you want a contemplation space, if you want a space to dive deep into that, to be in constant conversation, the reason we're in constant conversation is because this is how we discover our patterns. This is how we have those, oh my gosh, ahs come into the collective perspective. This is what we do. And it's so much fun, and it's really, really supportive. I feel like inner work and kindness need to go hand in hand. And there's something very beautiful about holding other people in a space while you do that. Okay, so before we pop off, I want to tell you guys about something really freaking awesome that I'm doing. If you don't follow me on Instagram yet, follow me on Instagram, Coaching with CHRY. I have just launched a very beautiful offer. I'm doing a free coaching series, and I will put all of the information. Do I want to put the information in the... I will put it. I will put all of the information in the description box after I upload this call. So what I am doing is, over the next 2 weeks, people are welcome to apply to win free coaching sessions with me, between 1 and 3, depending on what's necessary. The applications are open for 2 weeks. You just fill it out, answer the questions, and after May 20th, 2026, I will contact 5 people, and they will be receiving the free coaching package. And this is for someone who is open to going deep, somewhat spiritual. You are really, you definitely know what you want. And you're also aware that there is parts of yourself, aspects of yourself that kind of block you, that you feel like you don't have access to, or that maybe you've been judging, or that maybe you're afraid of, and you're ready to dive deep. And so go to the description box if you're interested. Follow the link. You can see the post, and there's a lot more information in there. Fill out the application. Send it in before May 20th, and I will reach out to all of those who are chosen. But I actually think I'm probably going to do more than just one of these, but because it's already been such a beautiful experience. The reason I'm doing it is because I just finished my human design certification, and also I just finished an intensive coaching course. So I've been such a student since the beginning of 2026, and I wanted to celebrate and kind of integrate all of my new teachings in addition to the skills that I'm already using with my clients. And just, I thought the best way to do that would be able to give back. And so if you're interested, go to the description box or go to my Coaching with CHRY Instagram and DM me if you want. I can send you the link on Instagram. And also feel free to share. If you think that there's somebody who would really benefit or that would be interested in this, feel free to share it with them. And I wish you luck. For those special 5 people. All right, guys, that's it for me on this beautiful Friday. Thank you for hanging out with me on Friday night. Cheers. If you had a drink, I didn't. This is water. I love you, and hopefully I'll see you on the next HG Friday. Ciao.